been playing Jesus for 500 years. Like literally.
Yeah.
Jesus doesn't look anything like Brad Pitt.
You can identify everything but the children of God. I need my people to wake up and understand that this is a propaganda.
The curse of the Pharaohs are a poor example of what wait for the plantation.
Beware false prophets who come dressed in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves.
You black man!
He that stealeth the man.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I want to say shalom and blessings to all my brothers and sisters, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Elohim and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Mashiach came, who is over all, Elohim bless forever and ever. Amen. I want to say shalom and blessings to everybody. Hope everybody's having a blessed morning / afternoon, as well afternoon everywhere, I'm sure. So I hope you're having a good afternoon. You know, it's kind of chilly where we are today, but, you know, still the sun is shining and everything. So able to enjoy the day somewhat still. Hope everybody is blessed. I want to say shalom to my brother Darnell Blackshear. Hope you're doing well. Nisi Lewis, shalom and blessings, my love. Pensilola, Yah, shalom and blessings to you. Hope you're doing well. Loving Yah first. How you doing, sis? Glad to see you. Hope you're doing well. My brother Yashadiq, shalom to you. Hope you're doing well. Hadasab bin Yah, shalom and blessings to you. All right. What we're going to do today is sort of pick it up where we left off yesterday. We were dealing with the Gentiles. And the question is, what Gentiles are you speaking of? Shalom and blessings, Sister SCR. Glad you could join in. All praise to the Most High. We're dealing with the Gentiles, all right? And one thing that we brought out yesterday was sort of a broader understanding of the Gentiles and how that term is used. Shalom and blessings, Sister Marcella Smith and Sister Linda Ricks. Hope y'all doing well today. You know, like I said, the weather is pretty pleasant here. I don't know how it is in the different places y'all are, you know, but it's pretty cool here, you know. But in any case, we were talking about the Gentiles and the context of when you see that term in the Bible or anywhere in biblical form, how it's used and what context it's used in. One of the beliefs or one of the subtle misconceptions that I feel that Christianity gave people is the understanding of Gentile. When you hear that word, automatically you think of one group of people, all right? Whereas when you really deal with that term in depth, it covers more than just one particular group. Shalom and blessings, my sultry sound. Apostle Curtis Lewis, aka SCM4, shalom to you. Glad y'all could join in with me. But that's where we're going to be kind of picking up today. What I want to do is we dealt with the book of Jubilees yesterday. And Jubilees dealt with the Most High dealing with Moses on Mount Sinai, giving him not only the law, but also giving him the end time, you know, what happened in the beginning and what happened in the end. You know, he gave him the totality. And this is how Moses is responsible for what we know as the Torah, or the first 5 books. Y'all forgive me for that. Hold on 1 second. I'll just try to work around it. But that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna kind of pick it up where we left off, but today we're gonna deal with the book of Tobit, you know. And also we read in Jubilees that all of Abraham's sons, except for Isaac and his seed, would be reckoned among the Gentiles and will be called Gentiles. Shalom and blessings, brother Kenneth Wilkerson. All right. And so just from that understanding, it's letting us know that that term is broader than what we've been taught or what we understand. But real quick, before we get too deep into anything, y'all know how we do. We have to open up the right way. So let's do it. Book of Psalms. Like I said, I know it's afternoon, but you know, we're going to take care of this anyway. We're going to read it anyway. Psalms 5. It says, "Give ear to my words, O Yehovah, and consider my meditation." He says, "Hearken unto the voice of my cry, my King and my Elohim, for unto thee will I pray. My voice shalt thou hear in the morning, O Elohim, and in the morning will I direct my prayer unto thee, and will look up. For thou art not an Elohim that have pleasure in wickedness, neither shall evil dwell with thee. The foolish shall not stand in thy sight. Thou hatest all workers of iniquity. Thou shalt destroy them that speak leasing. Jehovah will abhor the bloody and deceitful man. But as for me, I will come into thy house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in thy fear will I worship toward thy holy temple. Lead me, O Jehovah, in thy righteousness because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. For there is no faithfulness in their mouth, and their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open sepulchre. They flatter with their tongue. Destroy thou them, O Elohim, and let them fall by their own counsels. Cast them out in the multitude of their transgressions, for they have rebelled against thee. But let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice, and let them ever shout for joy, because thou defendest them. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. For thou, O Yehovah, will bless the righteous. With favor wilt thou compass him, as with the shield. Shalom and blessings. That's our reading, Psalms chapter 5. I hope that reading is a blessing to you, brothers and sisters. It's definitely a blessing to me. Many different passages throughout Psalms that I love to read. And like I said, we're going to change the rotation up, but that's just one that I feel is strong, you know, for where we are now. But before we get into break and get into our discussion, you know, I just want to let brothers and sisters know that, you know, we appreciate the time y'all spend. Don't forget about Kingdom Conversations Wednesday night. Brother Cleo is hosting that. I haven't talked to him in a couple of days here, but I'm going to get with him later to check on him to see what his status is, how he's feeling and everything. So let's keep him in our prayers and pray that the Most High restores him. And also don't forget about the prayer for Friday evening, you know, going into the day of rest for most people. So we have that, and we have Kingdom Conversations Wednesday night. All right. So what I want to do, I want to take a break, When I come back, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. And if some brothers and sisters want to chime in and give some input, some thoughts on what we talked about yesterday, or just give some thoughts overall over the concept of the Gentiles and who the Gentiles are within a particular context in scripture that you're dealing with, feel free to chime in. All right. So let's take a break. When we come back, I'm going to see if you brothers and sisters have some thoughts on that. If not, then I'm going to read another passage, and then we're going to get into the discussion for today. We're going to be dealing with the book of Tobit. All right. And we're going to be just doing the investigative study to get a better understanding, a background understanding of the history. You know, we can't get into everything at once, but we can try to bring out information to try to get us where we need to be. So shalom and blessings. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for listening in. There's the link. And in the meantime, I'll be right back.
What up, E? What up, E? What up, E?
Shalom, shalom. For anybody who wants to join in on the fast and the fellowship this weekend, feel free. Like I said, it's not anything anybody has to do, but for brothers and sisters who want to fellowship on that day, you know, we plan to have a session that day of fellowship for that day. And one of the reasons I've recommended fasting on that day is because although a lot of us in our hearts are turning from these things, some of us are still around family and people who partake in these things. And by virtue of that, you know, we may somewhat still partake in, unawares, be it just being in the atmosphere or, eating some of the food or whatever it is, And so, not, like I said, not that you have to do it, but for brothers and sisters who feel that that's a good idea, feel free to do so and join in with the fellowship on that day. We plan to have something going for that day. And so on that note, nobody has chimed in. And so what I want to do is I want to read from the book of Matthew. This will be another passage we just read real quick before we get into our discussion. And this is our Mashiach speaking to his disciples, and this is the things that he taught to his disciples. And I just want to read through some of this. We won't read through all of it. It's really Matthew's chapters 5 through 7. But I just want to read the first chapter 5, and we'll move on from there. But all of it is very profound. He said, and seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Verse 7. Hold on one second. Verse 7. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of Elohim. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden underfoot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but under a menorah, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Think not that I am come to destroy the Torah or the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Parashim or the Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not murder, and whosoever shall murder shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Rakah, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. Verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out thence, till thou hast paid the uttermost farthing. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. It hath been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, committed adultery. Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, that of old time thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto Jehovah thine oaths. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is Elohim's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou cannot make one hair white or black. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. For whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. Ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that ye resist not evil. But whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. And if any man will sue thee at the Torah, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asks thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not thou away. Ye have heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor, and hate thine enemies. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. All right, all praise to the Most High. This is the book of Matthew, the 5th chapter. And in this chapter, what Mashiach is doing for his disciples is he's laying down the standard of perfection. And this is how he ended it. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. All right, when you read through this chapter, he's basically laying the foundation of perfection, the things that we can do through him to be perfect, be perfected through him rather. All right, and this is what he instructed his disciples on how to be the children of the Father which is in heaven. You know, and like I said, Matthew's 5, chapters 5 through 7 are very profound. I just wanted to read the 5th chapter. When I first came into the truth, well, a few years after I came into the truth and started to gravitate to the scriptures a lot, this is one of the main passages that I used to read a lot. You know, it was one of my favorite, along with Psalms, the 119th chapter. You know, it's a lot of reading in that chapter too, but those were among two of my favorite passages to read, you know, when I first came into the truth. It's a lot of information, you know, a lot of things to help you really examine yourself, you know, and to, you know, help you to sort of see an outline of things that maybe you need to work on or get better, you know, personally, as a means to be, you know, a better servant for the Most High. And so I'm gonna take another break. When we come back, we're gonna get into the book of Tobit. All right, we're gonna be dealing with, you know, who are the Gentiles? What Gentiles are we speaking of? Because like I said, you know, the term Gentile under Christianity has one understanding, and under Hebrew understanding, it has a different meaning. And so these are the things that we have to apply. You know, who was the Apostle Paul speaking to when he was speaking of the Gentiles, or speaking of the Gentiles, you know, and getting a better context of these things, you know. And so let's take another break real quick. When we come back, we're going to get into the book of Tobit. All right, let's find out what Tobit has to say concerning his background and the history of the captivity that he was involved in. All right, shalom and blessings. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for your time. Once again, may the Most High bless you for that. I'll be right back. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. Want to get into the book of Tobit, because the thing we dealing with is who the Gentiles are. All right. Now, there's a lot to really consider. What I want to do with this information is sort of just put things out there to help brothers and sisters have as much information as possible when it comes to dealing with who the Gentiles were. Now, we know, according to Genesis 10, it tells us this. Matter of fact, let's go there first. We're going to come back to Tobit. All right, this is Genesis chapter 10, and I'm going to start at verse 2. It says, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Jawan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarmah, the sons of Yawan, Elisha, Tarshish, or Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. All right. We came and read this yesterday. And what I pointed out was that a lot of people read the scripture and they automatically come here to say that the sons of Japheth were the Gentiles. All right. So if the true understanding of the term Gentile means nations, why is it that we use that term to denote a specific group of people? All right. Right here in Genesis 10 and 5, it's telling us that by these, talking about the sons of Japheth, were the isles of the Gentiles divided. All right. The scripture is not telling you that the Gentiles were solely the sons of Japheth. It's letting you know that the sons of Japheth are the ones who divided up the isles of the Gentiles. All right. And so let me do this. Give me 1 second. This is just a recap. Let me give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me look this up real quick. Okay. This is Jubilees. All right. And this is dealing with Abraham. Give me a second. All right. This is dealing with Abraham's birth, circumcision of Isaac, going into the details about that. And when we returned in the 7th month and found Sarah with child before us, and we blessed him, and we announced to him all the things which had been decreed concerning him, that he should not die till he should beget 6 sons more, and should see them before he died, but that in Isaac should his name and seed be called, and that all the seed of Abraham's sons should be Gentiles and be reckoned with the Gentiles. But from the sons of Isaac, one should become a holy seed and should be reckoned and should not be reckoned among the Gentiles. All right. So we read in Genesis chapter 10, verse 5, by these, speaking of Japheth's sons, were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families. All right. Yet over here, we see that the Most High is telling Abraham directly that his seed, the rest of his sons, outside of Isaac, all the seed of his sons should be Gentiles and be reckoned with the Gentiles. And I read this yesterday to show how broad the understanding of that term Gentile is. When you see it, it's not just, when you see the term Gentile, it doesn't just denote the sons of Japheth. All right. The Most High is telling Abraham that all of his sons outside of Isaac shall be Gentiles. All right. So why don't we see them in Genesis chapter 10, verse 5? Because it's letting you know that Gentiles doesn't denote a particular bloodline. It's letting you know that Gentiles represent the nations outside of Israel. Hold on one second. Hey fam, I need y'all to do me a favor. Hit 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Hit a 1 in the chat. Shalom and blessings, Yahuwah's daughter of Zion. Shalom and blessings to you. Hope you're having a blessed one. Shalom, Sister Diane. Hope you're doing well today. Glad y'all could chime in. If you can hear me well, hit a 1 in the chat for me. I'm gonna wait till I see a few ones. Okay, appreciate it. I have to do that from time to time. My signal starts lagging. But okay, I'm good. Thank y'all for that. So Gentiles. All right. A lot of people come to Genesis 10 and say that the sons of Japheth were the Gentiles, when in fact Genesis 10 is simply telling you that the sons of Japheth are the ones who divided up the isles of the Gentiles. All right. And that also includes them among the Gentiles as well. So we have a broader understanding of that term, or we should. The sons of Abraham, all the seed of his sons should be Gentiles and be reckoned with the Gentiles. All right. So let's go to Tobit. That was just a recap from what we sort of touched on yesterday. We read through the first 2 chapters in Jubilees when the Most High was letting Moses know what would happen in the end time. You know, how the Most High would scatter his people among the Gentiles, how they would basically assimilate among the Gentiles, and how the Most High would in the end time gather his people from among those Gentiles and destroy them, you know. And so the question that comes from that is, when you read about those Gentiles, how the Most High is going to judge them and destroy them, and when you read about the Gentiles in the New Testament, when you talk about how the Most High is going to make the Gentiles fellow heirs, right? Are those the same Gentiles? You know, because if that's the case, there will be a contradiction, and it will be understood why people separate the Old from the New Testament. You have some people who reject the whole New Testament, you know, and so it will be understood why people would do that. But at the same time, are we missing something? Why would certain people omit certain, you know, passages? How would that help us to come to a better understanding by omitting information? Let's get into Tobit. Hold on one second. Okay. Give me 1 second. All right. Shalom, brother Jason. Hope you're doing well, bro. Good to see you. Glad you could join in. Tobit. All right. The whole purpose of what we do and coming to an understanding is bringing forth as much information as possible. Whatever is not legit, we can determine that. But bringing forth the information helps us to get a broader view or a broader scope. It helps us to consider things that may be a factor that we may have not considered before. Right? This is the whole point of investigating and dealing with a issue. He said, the book of the words of Tobit, son of Tobiel, the son of Ananil, son of Aduel, the son of Gabael, of the seed of Asael, of the tribe of Naphtali. All right. Hold on. Okay. Just had to check something. Verse 2. So we see that this Tobit, he was of the tribe of Naphtali. All right. Tobit was of the tribe of Naphtali. All right. Who in the time of Enemeser, king of the Assyrians, who led captive out of Thisbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali, in Galilee above Asher. All right, so I want to address this real quick. Tobit was from the tribe of Naphtali, and this was during the time when they were led captive by the Assyrians, right, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali, in Galilee above Asher. All right, so we got some backdrop. Tobit was of the tribe of Naphtali, and this is dealing with during the time of the Assyrian captivity. All right, when they were led captive by the Assyrians. Verse 3, I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the ways of truth and justice. And I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh into the land of the Assyrians. So while they were in captivity to the Assyrians, all right, he was of the tribe of Naphtali. He said he walked in all his days in the way of truth and justice. All right. So it says, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh into the land of the Assyrians. So while they were captive to the Assyrians, he did many alms deeds toward his brethren and toward his nation while they were in captivity to the Assyrians. And it says he walked in all the days of his life in the ways of truth and justice. All right, so I'm reading that part to sort of give the idea that even though our people were taken captive into some of these other nations, not all of our people forgot who they were. They didn't. Not all of them forgot their identity. As a matter of fact, most of them didn't. All right. It's not that they forgot their identity. They didn't forget their identity during this time. It wasn't until our time that they forgot, that we pretty much fell from who we are and forgot who we were as a people. But during these times, it was the Most High's commandments and the covenants that they forgot. But they never forgot who they were as a nation of people. And as a result of this, some of our people, while in captivity during this time, were able to hold on to some of the customs somewhat, and to some of the truths somewhat, and hold on to some of their heritage while they were in these captivities. All right, so that's just giving you an idea that during this captivity, Tobit was one of the people among our people who didn't forget who he was and held on to the ways of truth and justice. All right. And while in that same captivity, he pretty much looked out for his people. You know, that's what he's telling you right here. So in verse 4, he says, "And when I was in mine own country, in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali, my father, fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages." So he's saying while he was young and in his own land before the captivity, it says all the tribe of Naphtali fell. My father fell from the house of Jerusalem. All right. So what does that mean to fall from the house of Jerusalem? All right. It pretty much tells you in verse 5, it says, "Now all the tribes which together revolted, and the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal." So they fell from the house of Jerusalem, meaning they became assimilated with the customs of the heathens or with the other nations. All right. So I want us to keep in mind the notion of the term Gentile and how this term doesn't denote one group of people like we established. And so by virtue of this understanding, if the tribe of Naphtali alone fell from Jerusalem, that means they fell from their inheritance. They fell from their own land. They became citizens of the nations of the heathen. So they became what the heathen were. They became a part of the nations. I'm going to just say it like that for now. And that's common sense. You know, when you fall from your lot or from your nation, or you separate from your nation and become a part of other nations, that's just what that means. You become one with the other nations, right? This is what our people did. Just like, well, I'm not gonna use that example right now. Naphtali fell, my father fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages. Now all the tribes which together revolted, and the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto Baal. So I want to do something real quick. Okay. Matthew's chapter 4, verse 15. I remember what it said. It said that who in the time of Anamesser, the king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Thisbe, which is at the right hand of the city, which is called properly Naphtali in Galilee above Asher. All right, let's compare that with this. Matthew's 4:15. Remember, that's Naphtali. Matthew's 4:15. It says, the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan in Galilee of the Gentiles. So this is where Naphtali's tribe was, and Zebulun, but in Tobit is speaking of Naphtali. And so Tobit tells us that the whole house, the tribe of Naphtali, his father, fell from the house of Jerusalem. All right, and they were taken captive. But Tobit himself held on to the ways of truth and justice. All right. And so I'm sort of making a connection between this Tobit chapter 1 and where is it? Verse where is it? Okay. Verse 4. I mean, not Tobit 1 and 4, Tobit chapter 1, verse 2, and Matthew's 4 and 15. All right. So when it's saying Galilee of the Gentiles, then it says the people that walk in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. So that's I wanted to tie those two things together. Let me see. All right, here we go. Back to Tobit. And now also keep in mind, during Tobit's time and during the time that we read about in Matthew's 4 and 15 are two different times. You know, you're talking about maybe about an 800-year difference. You know, I'm not really sure exactly what year Tobit was around, but between the Assyrian captivity up until the time of Mashiach, you're looking at about around that amount of time. And so you have to also consider during that time, or 400 years or so after the 10 tribes were taken, you know, this is when the well, no, not that long. We know that after the 10 tribes was taken, after that, the Babylonian captivity took place with the southern kingdom, then the Medo-Persian captivity, then the Greek captivity, and then you have the Roman Empire by the time you get to the time of Mashiach. So you had the 10 tribes taken by the Assyrians, all right, and spread out into different regions during that time. And then after that, you had the southern kingdom taken into captivity. They were taken into captivity by 4 different kingdoms or 3 different kingdoms up until the time of Mashiach. So you had all of our people scattered and spread throughout many different regions, you know. So let's go back. I'm in verse 5. It says, now all the tribes which together revolted the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal. All right, and remember also what it mentioned about the tribe of Dan. All right, let's check that real quick. All right, this is the end of the testament of Dan. All right, it says, and when he had said these things, he kissed them and fell asleep at a good old age, and his sons buried him. And after that, they carried up his bones and placed them near Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Nevertheless, Dan prophesied unto them that they should forget their Elohim and should be alienated from the land of their inheritance and from the tribe of Israel and from their heritage, the family of their seed. So Dan is telling his children or his particular sons and daughters that the time was going to come that they would be alienated from the land of their inheritance and from the tribe of Israel and from their heritage, the family of their seed. So a time was going to come when Dan was no longer going to be a part of Israel. That's what it's telling you. He's going to be alienated from the land of their inheritance and from the tribe of Israel. To be alienated is to be separated from, right? You're going to be separated from it. And so what would happen as a virtue of them being separated, you know, from their heritage and from their land? They would either be exterminated as a people or they would become a part of the other people. He said, what's going on, Smitty? He said, so was Jonah going there to see the tribe of Naphtali? I believe, and that's something we're going to have to get into. We're going to have to get into the book of Jonah too. And from my understanding with Jonah, and I don't really, that's one book that I have to be honest and say that I've read through sparingly. But from my understanding was that Jonah was going there to tell the people to repent, you know, from the evils that they was committing upon the people, you know, the Most High's people. But like I said, that's something I've read sparingly. I haven't really read through the book of Jonah much, but that's definitely something that we can bring out, and that's a good question. But one thing we know for sure is that just looking at the scriptures and how they flow, our people migrated throughout different areas and regions, you know. One thing that we read about in the law, when the Most High says that when certain people do certain things to offend the law, the Most High either tells them that that either they should be put to death or that they will be separated from among their people. All right. And we know that one way to separate you from among your people is to purge you out based on whatever sin you did. But one of the understandings that I brought out before in the study was that could it have been possible that when the Most High said that based on whatever offense you did, you would be separated from among your people, could that mean that you would be cast out of the land and forced to go and fend for yourself pretty much? Were people cast out of the land of Israel for certain things that they did? We know that some of them were put to death. But when he said that soul shall be cut off from among his people, that soul shall be separated from among his people. You know, that's two different things in my view, but just something to consider. But that is a good question, bro. So this is Dan, all right, saying that his seed will fall from the house of Israel, from the inheritance, you know, and they will be alienated from their land, from the land of their inheritance, and from the tribe of Israel, and from their heritage, the family of their seed. So they will be alienated from that. And then over here, Naphtali is saying that the whole house of his fathers fell from the house of Jerusalem. All right, so we have to consider that once they fell from the house of Jerusalem, you know, what happened to them after that? We know that in the eyes of the Most High, he says that Israel will always be a nation as long as we have the ordinances of the sun and the moon, right? But what happened to them when they fell from Jerusalem? Did they go extinct as a people? Or did they go into assimilating with the other nations wherever they found themselves? You know, and we have scriptures to prove that, you know. But let's read some more. It says in 6, but I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feast, as it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree, having the first fruits and tenths of increase with that which was first shorn, and them gave I at the altar to the priest, the children of Aaron. All right. So one thing about this, it said that the tribes fell, his tribe fell, but he alone went often to Jerusalem. So I take it this was a time prior to the captivity. All right. Prior to when they were taken in captivity, the people were serving other gods in the land, but Tobit was one of the ones who stayed faithful. All right. But this could also raise another thought as to, while the people were in captivity, were they able to were they still migrating back and forth? You know, for instance, when we read about Paul, you know, he migrated to different regions. What I'm saying is that there was a lot of migrating, a lot of moving back and forth, a lot of transitioning between kingdoms from the time that the northern kingdom was taken, you know, and we can even include the time when the southern kingdom went under Babylon, all the way up into the time of Mashiach. There was a lot that happened. And so our people were scattered, you know, into many, many different regions during this time. And so let's see. It says in verse 7, the first 10th part of all increase I gave to the sons of Aaron who ministered at Jerusalem. Another 10th part I sold away and went and spent it every year at Jerusalem. And the third I gave unto them to whom it was meet, as Deborah my father's mother had commanded me, because I was left an orphan by my father. Furthermore, when I was come to the age of a man, I married Kanah of mine own kindred, and of her I begat Tobit. And when we were carried away captives to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles. All right, so when they were taken away captive, all right, so everything we're reading prior to this led up to when they were taken away captive. And it says that when they were taken away captives to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles. So this is somewhat the beginning of that, all right, the assimilation. It says, but I kept myself from eating because I remembered Elohim with all my heart, and the Most High gave me grace and favor before Enemesser, so that I was his purveyor. And I went into Madai and left in trust with Gabael, the brother of Gabriah, at Rages, a city of Madai, 10 talents of silver. Now, when Enemesser was dead, Sennacherib, his son, reigned in his stead, whose estate was troubled, that I could not go into Madai. And in the time of Enemesser, I gave many alms to my brethren, and gave my bread to the hungry, and my clothes to the naked. And if I saw any of my nation dead or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him. All right, so these are all the things he did while in captivity. This is basically saying while in captivity, he stayed faithful. He looked out for his people. All right. Verse 18. And if the king Sennacherib had slain any when he was come and fled from Judah, I buried them privately. For in his wrath he killed many, but the bodies were not found when they were sought for of the king. And when one of the Ninevites went and complained of me to the king, that I buried them and hid myself, understanding that I was sought for to be put to death, I withdrew myself for fear. Then all my goods were forcibly taken away. Neither was there anything left me beside my wife Kanah and my son Tobit. And there passed not 55 days before two of his sons killed him, and they fled into the mountains of Ararat. And Asar Kadon, his son, reigned in his stead, who appointed over his father's accounts and over all his affairs. Ahasuerus, my brother, Anael's son. I was looking at a historical account on this once, and when you read about in I think it's in Esdras, where it talks about how the 10 tribes left Assyria and went down into the a land uninhabited. All right, there was an historical account that talked about when that actually happened, because one thing that I asked was, how is it that they were just able to up and decide to leave when the Most High, it says he dried up the Euphrates and they crossed over, right? How were they able to leave? All right, and the historical account was basically saying that there was a war that took place and King Sennacherib's sons killed him. Two of his sons killed him. And one of the younger sons pretty much took over in his stead. The two that killed him had to flee away because their idea was to try to usurp their father, but he had to flee. They fled away, and his younger son reigned in his stead. And it was said that it was during this time when the Israelites left Assyria, all right, when they were able to basically leave Assyria and go down into what was said the interiors of Africa. Some people say they came to America, all right? But in any case, that's not what I want to get into. It was during this time that they were able to leave, all right? It's telling you that in their past not 55 days before two of his sons killed him, and they fled into the mountains of Ararat, and Esar Kadon, his son, reigned in his stead, who appointed over his father's accounts and over all his affairs. Achicarus, my brother, Anael's son, and Achicarus entreating for me, I returned to Nineveh Now Achicarus was cupbearer and keeper of the signet and steward and overseer of the accounts. And Esar-Kadon appointed him next unto him, and he was my brother's son. All right, so this is Tobit. All right, just pretty much giving a backdrop, letting you know he was from the tribe of Naphtali and everything that went on with his people, his father's lineage that led to the Assyrian captivity. And you see right here, it's telling you that all the tribe of Naphtali fell, all right, fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, and that all the tribes should sacrifice here. So letting you know that they're going to fall from everything. They're going to lose their inheritance. They're going to lose their identity. All right. And so by virtue of that, you become not necessarily what the people are. Like, say, for instance, you're being held captive. We're here in America. All right. We're not, according to our blood and our ethnicity, we're not what these people are. However, we were born in this nation, so we are Americans by nationality, but not by ethnicity. We were born in this nation. We're subject to this nation. All right. And it's the same thing with the 10 tribes. They fell from their inheritance. They fell from their lineage, from their it says they fell from the house of Jerusalem. All right, so that includes your identity, your land, your inheritance, everything that identifies with the truth of who you are. You fell from that. All right. It's the same thing with us in our time. We fell from being recognized by the nations as Israelites, you know, and even in times past, prior to this, history will record history, or ancient history, older books record and tell you who we were or how we were classified as Jews and different things that will help you understand or lead you more to a biblical understanding of who we are, the truth about that. Whereas now, the name that we're given as a people is a political designation for us, given to us by this country. And it doesn't identify with the truth of who we are. Hold on one second. All right. Let's get some comments. Let's see what y'all got to say. Say, wasn't Dan part of people that sold Judah in the transatlantic slave trade? I heard that somewhere. I'm not really sure about that. But that is something interesting, you know, to consider if that is the case. It says, I think generally they carried away the northern tribes, but I see where it directly says Naphtali, Gad, Reuben, half tribe of Manasseh, so far. Yep. Well, the whole point is, regardless of which tribe it is, all of Israel was either taken from the land or separated from the land some kind of way. And by virtue of that, we lost our identity. And so the idea of saying that the northern kingdom became Gentiles is not far-fetched, because like we established, Gentiles doesn't denote a particular bloodline. Gentiles denote all of the nations outside of Abraham's seed, outside of Isaac. And Isaac shall thy seed be called. So even those of us who descend out of that, we're from the southern tribes, but we fall under the conspiracy of the nations to cause Israel to be no more remembrance. So nobody recognizes us as Israel, as a people. We're Black, we're African American, Outside of that, there's nothing really solid we can hang our hats on. Said 2 Kings, Chronicles, Kings, and Ezekiel. So I'm always encouraging others to read a children's Bible book of stories, but I too definitely need to reread and familiarize myself again. Okay. 2nd Esdras, where thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land. Yep. Yeah, so that's what he's telling you right here, So sort of giving us some backdrop. After they were taken captive to the Assyrians, then we see that there was a time where they united and decided to leave that place. Now, does that necessarily mean everybody left? And like I said, between that captivity and all of the captivities of the Southern Kingdom, you had a lot of misplacement of our people, going in different places and living there and transitioning from kingdom to kingdom all the way up to the Mashiach's time. Let's see. I read somewhere that we were known as Ebos. Yeah, I've seen that a lot of times as well. Dealing with somewhat the African variation of it, the people over on that continent, tracing their bloodlines and everything. Yeah, I've heard that too. So they did a real number on us. Yeah, for real. For real. It actually is a good thing that they don't know or don't believe. Yeah, in a way. Yep. It sort of keeps certain things from happening. Yep, that's true. But the book of Tobit, like I said, he sort of gives us some backdrop dealing with what was going on during his time, what he encountered, and letting you know that they failed. All right. Now, we read Matthew's. Let me pull that back up again. Do I have it? I have to go get it again. Okay. That's Dan. This is Dan right here telling you how he prophesied unto his children that they should be alienated from the land of their inheritance and from the tribe of Israel and from their heritage, the family of their seed. So if you're alienated from your heritage, you're alienated from your name. That's part of your heritage. Part of people don't know that heritage, one of the meanings of heritage is inheritance. So with an heritage, you pass that down. Whoever you pass it down to, they inherit the land, the prosperity, the name, right? The culture and everything, the customs, the instructions on how to maintain everything. That's part of the inheritance. All right. So no longer calling us Israel is a part of what the Most High said would happen to us. We will be called proverbs and bywords among the nations. See? Among the Gentiles, right? And by virtue of us being subject to these Gentile nations, we become them. Not saying, those of us in who have some understanding now, but all of us were once a part of the Gentile customs, and even now we still are. We're subject to this kingdom, and if you have a job, even if you know the truth, if you have a job, you have to work that job according to the system that they establish. You have to recognize it. We're not in our system of cosmology where we can recognize the dates and the times. We have to go by what they establish, and what they establish is after the gods and the things that they believe. So each day represents a certain God that they put in place that we have to acknowledge in order to live our lives in this society. So just something to keep in consideration, when you go fill out an application, on that application, they have all of the nations on there, and even if they don't, you can put other. But the very designation that they associate us with is on that application. And that's not who we are. But we have to check that in order to be recognized. It's on your driver's license, your ID or whatever you have. But that's not who we are. That's a byword. That's a byword given to us within this nation. So we have accepted something that has been given to us by the nations, a designation that they gave us. That's what they recognize us by. A lot of us have Hebrew surnames. We surnamed ourselves after the names and the forefathers of the Most High, according to prophecy. But this is not what you put on your job application. These Hebrew names I'm looking at in the chat, these are not the same names that you would go and put on your job application. Maybe Darnell Blackshear, Niecy Lewis, Linda Ricks, Marcella Smith, those names, maybe Kenneth Wilkerson. You can put them on job applications. But not to say that these brothers and sisters don't have Hebrew surnames for themselves. This is just something that we're doing to reach out to the Most High, But Book of Tobit kind of broadens us some more. That's all we're gonna deal with today on the topic of which Gentiles are we talking about? Which Gentiles are we talking about? Now, is there anybody in the chat who doesn't ascribe to the Book of Jubilees? If you ascribe to the Book of Jubilees, hit 1. If you don't, hit 2. I've never really heard of many people not ascribing to it, but there are some. But if there's anybody in the chat, I just want to see if there's anybody who ascribes to that book, or anybody who don't believe that book is valid. If you do, hit 1. If not, hit 2. Because the thing about it, what Jubilees is doing, like I said, is giving you a broader scope of that term, the Gentiles. And another thing to consider, Gentiles, you know, when we talk about there was a discussion or a topic going on about where European people originated, you know. And so one thing we have to consider back then was Noah had 3 sons, all right, and Noah was of one ethnicity, right, and his wife was of one ethnicity. If anybody has an issue with believing that Noah was a progenitor of the so-called, one of the many progenitors of the so-called Israelite people leading back to Adam, go back and read Luke chapter 3, and you'll see a whole lineage from the Most High and Adam, from the Most High and Adam that leads all the way up to the Mashiach. And Noah is a part of that lineage. So Noah had 3 sons. All right. And we know that through one of those sons, the Most High seed continued. All right. But does that necessarily mean that just because the Most High chose one of his sons to continue the holy seed, does that X out physical characteristics? Right? Does that mean that Noah gave birth to a European man, a Hispanic man, and a black man? Right? Or what are we really reading when we read that? I'm asking that because when you look at the term Gentile, we automatically denote that to one group of people, right? Who, when you really examine during that time, that particular group of people weren't really concerned with what the Hebrews had going on during that time. It wasn't really something that they concerned themselves with, you know. If anything, if you go back and read the history of Pilate when they put the Mashiach on trial, you can get that idea that what was going on with the Israelites, the other nations were oblivious to what was going on with the Israelites. They had no clue. But I was going to go somewhere. I forgot. But let's see what we got in the chat. For people who affirm the Book of Jubilees. Okay. So that's a few people. You know, I know some people are not really sure. Can I hit 1.5? Hey, I would for Jubilees. But once again, just dealing with the term, the Gentiles, and showing how this term broadens the scope. You know, we're not dealing with one particular group of people when we talking about the Gentiles. And so when we get to the New Testament, you know, considering everything that we brought out and everything that we're going to bring out, you know, here in the near future, you know, who were the Gentiles spoken of in the New Testament when it talks about the Gentiles being fellow heirs? Who are these Gentiles? You know, but just something to consider. Put the link in the chat one time. We'll take a break and come back. If you brothers and sisters want to chime in and give some thoughts, feel free. If not, then we're going to go ahead and shut it down for today. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for chiming in. Let me do this. Hold up. Okay, here we go. I just want to hear some thoughts on the Gentiles, and what brothers and sisters have on their mind. What are your thoughts concerning the Gentiles? The range of it. Who is it talking about? When you see that term, does it always denote one group of people? Or, is there a much deeper understanding to that? All right, y'all get us some thought. There go the link. If you want to chime in, feel free. I'll be right back. Shalom and blessings. Shalom, shalom. My sultry sound says it would have been the northern tribe, Gentiles, who will be heirs with Judah. Okay. Image of Shiloh said, generally, I think it denotes all people not following the law and commandments of Yah, including Israel, but was meant essentially for the other peoples. That's interesting. That's an interesting point. It says, you only have I known of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for your iniquities. Amos 3:2. Yep. It says, if I'm not mistaken, Jews were called Gentiles or Greeks in Acts. That's another interesting point. All right. Another interesting point. And most high willing, I'm gonna have this discussion again tomorrow when I'm gonna bring out more information that solidifies this very point, Image of Shiloh, that the Jews were called Greeks in Acts. We're gonna solidify that. Let's see. I think Gentiles are those Hebrew Israelites who choose the way of the heathen, and the heathen are those who are not Hebrew Israelites. That's an interesting point too, because we're going to read something in Second Esdras that sort of alludes to both the heathen and the Gentiles, you know. And you know, we all have different views on different things. This is my view when it comes to the term Gentile and heathen, and this is just the spirit of the matter. Whenever that term heathen is being used, it's being used to express. It's like an expression, so to speak. You know, the Gentiles and the heathen, in my view, can be interchangeable. You know, so whenever that term heathen is being used, is as an expression to express, you know, a feeling toward those particular people. And then in certain contexts, Gentiles is used to describe the judgments that he's going to bring on the Gentiles, you know. But that's a good point. That the word Jew was invented in 1775 by the Illuminati. That's interesting. Yep. So when dealing with that, the Gentiles, the whole point of this is to sort of bring some light to, you know, what we're dealing with actually, because it would be a waste of time to prove that the Gentiles spoken of in terms of redemption and salvation are the northern kingdom, when in fact it's not the case. And if it's not the case, then our work should be more redirected towards who the Bible say the Gentiles are, if in fact that's the case. You know, what we're doing is pretty much in vain, you know, if that's the case. And so what I'm trying to see is that, what does the Bible mean when it uses the term Gentile in certain contexts, in certain passages? All right. Y'all pretty much know where I stand, you know, in terms of that term Gentile, whenever it's used to speak of the other nations and how the Most High is going to separate his people from the other nations, and how he's going to judge or bring judgment on the Gentiles. That's speaking of the ethnic Gentiles. But when he's speaking of redeeming and making the Gentiles fellow heirs in the kingdom and redeeming them, that's speaking of him restoring the other 10 tribes back to Judah, or the southern kingdom. All right, because from the understanding of it, although Judah was scattered, you know, the Most High still remained faithful to Judah. He remained in covenant with them. You know, when he scattered us, you know, he said that we never cease from being a nation before him. And so, you know, even now, the Most High is you know, dealing with us according to the covenant that he made with our forefather. So let's see. Heathen according to Aunt Esther. Yeah, you know, you heathen. Fish eye, yeah. So what does it mean? You know, heathen or Gentile doesn't mean a particular bloodline. You know, like when you see a Gentile, say a so-called white person, and you call them a Gentile, you're not identifying their bloodline. All right. We know that they come from one of those lineages. However, what lineage, you know? And all that means is that they are among the Gentiles. They're one of the nations outside of the chosen people. All right. But they still have their own bloodline. So to call somebody a Gentile or a heathen is not identifying with a bloodline. All right. It's just a name or a term used to identify with other nations. You know, it's just like how the Most High separated Jacob unto himself, and how we can go on the scriptures and break down our lineages and everything. He didn't do that with the other people. You know, he just called them Gentiles. Although they have their nations and their kingdoms, he just lumped them all together. The Gentiles. He separated Israel. So by the sons, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided. The isles of the Gentiles, you know, by these, talking about the sons of Japheth, were the isles of the Gentiles divided into their languages, right? And everything else. So, Brother Yash say it's a term that has to be rightly divided. Absolutely. Absolutely. It has to be rightly divided, just like the term church. You know, the term church has to be rightly divided and not used as a means to gloss over. You know, once you find out the true church is the congregation, and the congregation is the people, the chosen people. Thanks. I believe this is just that right now it's hard to get some folks to understand the truth. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. Gentiles are anyone who is opposed to Yahweh, including Ephraim. And the bloodline is all about the mixture. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, Gentiles are anyone who is opposed to Yahweh. So that would include all the nations and not just the seed of Japheth. You know, so the term Gentile, you know, when we see that term in the New Testament, what is it talking about? You know, what is it talking about? And the other question we ask is, when the Most High said he would send a strong delusion, you know, what did that mean? That people should believe a lie. What has been the strong delusion all that time, all the way up to now? It hasn't been that the Northern Kingdom were really the Gentiles that was spoken of in the New Testament. That's been held back. So what has been the strong delusion? You know, if you compare saying that with what we've been given all this whole time, you will see that the Gentiles, right, means anybody. And so with the Gentiles that we're under now, with them being in power, why not assimilate or assume yourself into that position, since the Gentiles can be saved too? The Gentiles can receive salvation too. I'm gonna bring some more stuff out on the Apostle Paul too. You know, I have some information in the lost acts of the holy apostles. It deals with a lot of what the apostles and the disciples encountered as they went out on a mission, sharing the gospel throughout all the nations. And so we talked about how there's been a division in Israel on who the Mashiach is. And it's the same thing with Paul. I'm going to show you that. It was contention with Paul in the book of Acts and in this account that I'm going to bring out. I'm going to show you what the contention was about. And then we're going to show you how this whole contention was settled in the end and what was the conclusion of it. All right. And the conclusion of this contention is what led Peter to say what he said about Paul's writings. All right. But I'm going to just leave that there for now. I'm not going to go deep into that in this discussion. We'll do that in the next one. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to close out. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, once again for your time. May the Most High bless you. Shalom and blessings. I'll be right back. Shalom, shalom. Welcome back. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for your time today. And as always, feel free to chime in and give your perspectives on the issues that we're bringing up. There will be, we will be having a meeting with a brother this coming Friday, I believe. His position is different in terms of the Gentiles. And so we're going to open up the platform for the brother and allow him to present his case. And I encourage all you brothers and sisters to chime in on that day. And this is what it's all about. That's why I said what I said. If what we're presenting is an error, then we need to be corrected, and that needs to be brought to the platform. You know what I mean? If what we're bringing is an error, then whoever opposes what we're bringing should have stronger foundations to bring out whatever they have to present, in my view. It shouldn't take for these things to come out, for those things to come out. It kind of reminds me of how the conscious community operates. A lot of our brothers get a lot of flack for standing on the street corners and doing what they do. But it's not until they come out that the conscious community come out and try to refute what these brothers are trying to share with the people. And it's usually as a means to be a distraction. And that's not to say that that's the undertone of what we're dealing with. But what I am saying is that if what we're bringing out is an error, we welcome anybody to the platform to present whatever case they have, whatever information that they have, all right, to make whatever case they want to make, or, to solidify whatever case they want to make. And on the same note, that's what we do. We ask questions, we bring things out, as a means to get a more in-depth understanding of the context of what we're dealing with. And so be looking forward to that Friday, 2 p.m., hosted by your brother Banya and myself. And we'll be introducing that brother during that time so that he could have a platform to bring out what he wants to bring out. But I want to close this out. I want to thank all of you brothers and sisters for your time. And as always, before we close out, let's get our hymn to the Creator, written by our forefather, King David. He says, "The Lord is great and holy, the most holy for generation after generation. Majesty goes before him, and after him abundance of many waters. Loving kindness and truth are about his face. Truth and judgment and righteousness are the pedestal of his throne. He divides light from obscurity. He establishes the dawn by the knowledge of his heart. When all the angels saw it, they sang, for he showed them that which they had not known. He crowns the mountains with fruit, with good food for all the living. Blessed be the master of the earth with his power, who establishes the world by his wisdom. By his understanding, he stretched out the heaven and brought forth wind from his stores. He made lightnings for rain and raised mist from the end of the earth. Hallelujah. All praises to the Most High. I want to thank you brothers and sisters once again for your time. You say is that 2 p.m. your time? I believe so. So that'll be like noon California time or Pacific time, and but like 3 or 4 o'clock Eastern time, I believe. I think you brothers can work that out. But I'm gonna get with Brother Banya again, and we'll be solidifying this more with the family. So you brothers and sisters could join in with that. All praise to the Most High, brothers and sisters. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. I want to thank you for your time. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May He reward you for the time that you spend with the family over at the side of the earth. May He lead you safely to and from your destinations, and may He protect you from all hurt, harm, and danger. All praise to the Most High. Until next time, shalom and blessings.